Chosen one, lock your attention on this message right now. That restless feeling in your spirit, the one that keeps asking when, I need you to silence everything else and hear what I'm about to say. God is not silent, He is not slow, and He is not slow, and He is not slow, and He has not forgotten your face. The enemy has been working overtime this week for one reason and one reason only. He sees what's waiting for you on the other side of this pause, and he is terrified that you are about to receive it. It all shifts in the next season. The waiting, the wondering, the quiet that has felt more like abandonment than preparation. But here is what you need to understand right now. It is not ending in spite of what you have done. It is ending because of it. Think back to that moment this week when you almost forced it, when you almost made the call you knew you shouldn't make, when you almost stepped out of position because the silence felt unbearable. You held back, you stayed. You chose to trust even when trust felt foolish. You did not know it then, but that moment of restraint was not weakness. That was the exact act that unlocked what God has been preparing behind the veil. You did not delay your blessing. You authorized it. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment that was scheduled before the foundations of the earth, written into the timeline of your life before you took your first breath. You are standing at a threshold right now, and what happens in the next few minutes matters more than you currently understand. Do not leave this message early. Your future self is asking you to stay, because if you close this out before the end, you risk walking away from the very answer you have been praying for. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the exact decree that cancels the assignment of delay over your life. I am going to walk you through the divine audit that reveals why everything that felt like a setback was actually a setup. And at the end, we're going to seal this season with a declaration that closes the door on confusion and opens the one God has already prepared for your face. Stay until the very last second. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. It has not just been quiet, it has been a specific kind of heavy. The kind that sits in your chest when you cannot point to anything visibly wrong. But something in your spirit knows you are in a moment that matters. Maybe you have been going through the motions this week, functioning on the outside while something deep inside you keeps circling the same question. You have prayed it, you have whispered it in the dark. Maybe you were lying awake at 3:00 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, replaying decisions, wondering if you missed your moment. Or maybe you were somewhere quiet yesterday and a wave of emotion hit you that you could not explain. A grief that had no name, a longing that felt too big for the room you were standing in. You feel like you are hovering, suspended between the life that was and the life that was promised, close enough to see it, too far to touch it. And in that hovering place, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. He has been replaying moments in your mind with narration. That moment you backed down, that moment you went quiet, that moment you looked like you gave up, and he has been telling you that your face is the reason the blessing has not arrived, that you are too broken, too inconsistent, too disqualified, that God looked at what you did and changed his mind about what he promised you. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Romans 11:29 says, "For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable." Listen to what that means. Irrevocable. Not conditional on your consistency. Not suspended because of your season. Not cancelled because of your worst week. What God placed on your life, what he wrote over your face, what he designed your name to carry, none of that can be undone. Not by your failure, not by your silence, not by that moment the enemy keeps replaying. The accuser does not have the authority to revoke what God made permanent. You are not in a cycle, you are in a corridor. And what feels like a wall at the end of it is not a dead end. It is a door. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of being forgotten. It is the weight of arrival. It is the pressure that builds right before something that has been sealed for a long time finally opens. You have been reading it as punishment because you have been living inside it. But from heaven's perspective, this is not the silence of abandonment. This is the silence before the announcement. What you called waiting, God calls positioning. What you called delay, God calls precision. And that face of yours, the one that has been carrying questions, exhaustion, and a faith that refuses to die even when it has had every reason to, that face is the reason the surprise is already prepared. It was made for this moment, not someone else's moment. Yours. You did not miss it. You are right on time. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let's go deeper, because what you just heard in that opening was not a coincidence. You didn't find this message. This message found you, and the reason it found you is because there is something written on your face that you have not yet been able to read for yourself. There is a story in your eyes that you have been trying to erase, a weight you have been carrying in your expression, in your posture, in the quiet way you look at yourself in the mirror and wonder if any of this is ever going to change. Perhaps you felt the subtle tightening around your jaw, the faint shadow under your eyes, the way your shoulders seem to carry an invisible burden, or whispering a silent question. Will this ever shift? And in that moment of vulnerable reflection, a divine whisper echoes in your soul. Wait. Not a forever wait, not an indefinite pause in the grand cosmic timeline, but a measured wait a little longer. This divine instruction carries with it the profound implication that is my path, but here is what most people do with that word. They hear wait, and they translate it as not yet worthy. They hear wait, and something inside them whispers that the delay is evidence of disqualification, that if God truly had something prepared for them, it would have arrived by now, that the years that have passed are proof of abandonment rather than preparation. This translation becomes a subtle poison, a quiet inner agreement that forms an invisible shield, a self-imposed barrier that is the very thing keeping the divine surprise from illuminating your countenance. It's like standing at the edge of a blossoming garden, sensing its fragrance, but convincing yourself that the gate is locked because you haven't earned the key, when in reality, the gate is swinging open, awaiting your confident step. Because what God is doing right now is not happening behind you, relegated to the rearview mirror of your past. It is happening in you, a profound internal alchemy, a quiet unfolding within the sacred chambers of your spirit. And the transformation that is coming is not only going to change your circumstances, the external landscape of your life. It is going to change your countenance, the very reflection that stares back at you. There is a glory that belongs to the next chapter of your life, a divine radiance that is destined to manifest, and it is going to show up on your face, in the very light of your eyes, before it shows up in your bank account, before it shows up in your bank account, before it shows up in the dynamics of your relationships, before it shows up in the energy of the rooms you walk into. People are going to see something different about you, an unnameable luminescence, a subtle yet undeniable shift that they will not be able to explain. And you will know exactly what happened. You waited, and while you waited, God worked. He was not idle. He was weaving, sculpting, preparing you for the unveiling. Think of Moses. When he descended from Mount Sinai after an epochal encounter in the very presence of God, the people were so overwhelmed by the divine emanations radiating from him that they could not even look directly at him. His face was shining, not with a borrowed light, but with an intrinsic radiance, a holy glow. This was not because he had accomplished some monumental feat in the eyes of the world, not because he had achieved some earthly success, performed some dazzling miracle, or proven his worth through human metrics. It was because he had been in a place of waiting, a prolonged season of consecrated solitude, a place of profound encounter, a place of sustained, intimate proximity to the divine. And what God deposited in that sacred waiting, that crucible of divine communion, transformed his very being, manifesting externally in the brilliance of his countenance. The people saw the undeniable evidence of his divine appointment before they even fully understood the epic story of his journey. And that, beloved, is exactly what is about to happen to you. But here's where it goes deeper, because the waiting God is calling you to is not a passive, inert state of being. The waiting God is calling you to is one of the most active, demanding, and spiritually aggressive postures a human being can possibly take. It requires a profound inner stillness, the capacity to hold your peace when every fiber of your being is screaming to force the outcome, to manipulate the circumstances, to rush the process. It requires that you remain in a state of divine alignment when the siren song of misalignment, the easier path of compromise and doubt, is constantly beckoning. It requires that you keep your hands open, a posture of surrender and receptivity, when every instinct, honed by past disappointments, is screaming at you to grip tighter, to hoard your hopes, to protect yourself from further hurt. And most people do not understand this fundamental truth. The waiting itself is the assignment. The waiting is not merely a preamble to the purpose. The waiting is an integral, potent part of the purpose itself. It is the sacred chrysalis stage where the miracle is being formed. And this leads us to something that most people miss entirely, a crucial point lost in the fog of their present circumstances. The surprise God is preparing for you is not just a singular event, a sudden windfall, or a dramatic turnaround. It is a revelation. It is the singular, breathtaking moment when everything that has happened to you, everything that has been done to you, every closed door that felt like a final verdict, every broken promise that shattered your expectations, every delayed dream that faded into the realm of the impossible, suddenly coalesces into a grand divine design, making complete and profound sense, not the superficial sense that merely explains away the pain, as if erasing the memory of the storm, but a deeper redemptive sense that imbues the pain with purpose, a transformative sense that redeems it, that sanctifies it, that turns every wound into a living witness to God's faithfulness, and every scar into an unmanufacturable, unfakeable, and unassailable testimony that belongs uniquely to you. Stay with me, because what is coming next is the part most people never reach, the critical juncture that has the power to permanently break the cycle of stagnation and usher you into a new era of divine manifestation. There is a counterfeit version of waiting that, on the surface, looks uncannily like the real thing. It mimics the outward appearance of patience, of endurance, but on the inside, it is a slow, insidious form of self-destruction. It is the kind of waiting that is not rooted in faith, but in a deep-seated fear. It appears as patience, but it is, in reality, paralysis. It looks like trust, but underneath its placid exterior lies a deep, unspoken agreement with yourself, a silent pact that whispers, "I am waiting because I do not actually believe I deserve what I am waiting for." And God is not asking you to wait from that place of deep-seated unworthiness. He is not asking you to endure in silence while secretly believing that you are too broken, too old, too far behind, too fundamentally disqualified to ever receive the promises He has declared over your life. That is not holy waiting. That is self-punishment cunningly disguised in the language of spirituality. Real waiting, the kind that heaven recognizes, the kind that prompts a divine response, is expectant. It is the proactive posture of someone who has already decided the outcome in their heart and spirit, even before their natural eyes can perceive it. Think of the father in the parable of the prodigal son. He was not sitting passively in his house, idly hoping for his son's return. He was watching, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, ready, poised. And the very moment his son appeared, a mere speck in the distance, the father's heart surged and he ran. That is the potent energy of holy anticipation, and God is asking you to adopt that same dynamic posture toward your own life, to be the one watching the horizon with unwavering conviction. To be the one who is so profoundly convinced that the divine surprise is on its way that you are already moving toward it, a step of faith, before it fully materializes in your visible reality. And once that seismic shift occurs within your spirit, everything around you begins to respond and shift in sympathetic resonance. Because your expectation is not merely an internal feeling, it is a tangible force that creates an atmosphere. Your belief actively shapes your environment, subtly but surely influencing the trajectory of your circumstances. The way you carry yourself during this season of waiting is not inconsequential. It is the very crucible that determines what the waiting is ultimately able to produce within you and through you. And in just a moment, we are going to uncover the one thing that most people instinctively avoid looking at, the hidden obstacle that has been keeping the treasure locked away, and it is the very key that will unlock what has been sealed shut for years. But first, this foundational truth must deeply land within you. You have been in a season that has felt like God went quiet, like the heavens themselves were sealed, like the wellspring of answers had run dry, leaving you standing in a silence that felt far more like abandonment than a sacred invitation. And in that profound silence, you began to read your own face as if it were a definitive scripture. You looked in the mirror and saw exhaustion etched into the lines. You saw weariness in the dulled hue of your skin. You saw the irrefutable evidence of everything you have endured, and you began to believe that the face staring back at you, the face of hardship and struggle, was the final, unchangeable version of who you were destined to become. But that face, beloved, is not your destination. That face is your before, and God, in His exquisite grace and power, is in the process of rewriting the after. Because what has been shaping your face, what has been imprinting itself upon your very being, is not solely the hardship itself. It is more profoundly what you have believed about that hardship. Every subtle agreement you have made with rejection, every silent nod to feelings of inadequacy has left an indelible mark. Every time you told yourself that you were too much, or conversely, not enough, those pronouncements settled deep within the core of your being, altering your internal landscape. Every time you swallowed your grief, a potent and necessary emotional release, instead of allowing the Holy Spirit to help you process and release it, it found a hidden home in the cells of your body, in the subtle nuances of your expression, in the quiet way you hold yourself when no one is watching. And God is not overlooking this. He sees it all, every hidden struggle, every silent battle. And the surprise He is preparing for you is not merely an external shift in your circumstances. It is a deep, cellular, soul-level healing, a divine renovation that will reach the very parts of you that you had long since ceased to believe could ever be touched, redeemed, or restored. Now here is where it becomes a confrontation, a sacred challenge to the core of your being. And I need you to stay with me, to lean in, because this is the part that is often the most difficult to hear, the truth that our human hearts instinctively resist. The thing that has been blocking the divine surprise, the thing that has been creating the most significant resistance between you and your long-awaited breakthrough, is not an external enemy. It is not a haunting past that you cannot escape. It is not the people who hurt you, or the systems that failed you, or the timing that felt impossibly cruel. The thing that has been creating the most formidable barrier is the version of yourself that you have been unconsciously protecting. There is an identity you have meticulously built within the trenches of survival mode. It is a version of you that learned to anticipate disappointment, to brace for impact, so that disappointment would never again catch you completely off guard. It is a version of you that stopped voicing your hopes out loud, because hoping aloud meant risking the searing pain of a potential setback, the kind of emotional devastation that almost broke you before. And that version of you, that resilient survivor, is not your enemy. In fact, it served a vital purpose. It kept you alive. It held you together when everything else was fracturing and falling apart. But it was never meant to be your permanent dwelling place, your eternal home. And God is asking you now, in this pivotal season, to consciously and courageously lay it down, because you cannot receive a new face, a transformed countenance radiating divine light, while you are still clinging tenaciously to the old story of your suffering. You cannot step boldly into the unfolding surprise while you are still rehearsing the old lines of disappointment, the familiar script of what went wrong. The protective identity that served you so faithfully in the wilderness, in the barren landscapes of your past trials, is actually the very thing that is making it difficult for you to enter the lush, abundant promised land that God has prepared. Not because you are weak or incapable, but because that survival identity does not know how to exist, how to thrive in abundance. It only knows how to function, how to endure in lack. And God is not calling you to survive anymore. He is calling you, with tender urgency, to arrive. And here is the final transformative truth, the revelation that reframes everything you have just heard, everything you have experienced. The waiting is almost over, not because you have finally stumbled upon the perfect formula, or uttered the most potent prayer, or meticulously performed enough of the right things. The waiting is almost over because God, in His eternal wisdom and sovereign plan, decided before the very foundations of the world were laid that this would be the season of your breakthrough. He established an appointed time, a divine kairos moment, and that moment is now converging with the precise instant you are standing in. Your only job, your sacred task, is to not walk away from the threshold. Your only job is to stay, to keep your face resolutely turned toward the light, even when that light feels distant and faint. To keep believing with an unshakable conviction that the surprise is real, even when your natural eyes cannot yet see it. Because on the other side of this sacred weight is a version of your face that carries something the world has never seen on you before: profound peace. Not the absence of external trouble, but a settled, unshakable knowing deep within your spirit that cannot be shaken by any storm. Uncontainable joy that is not dependent on fluctuating circumstances. A radiant light in your eyes that testifies to something miraculous that was done in the hidden place, the secret sanctuary of your soul, something that no one can logically explain and no one can ever take away from you. Place your hand on your heart, feel the steady rhythm of life beating within you, and speak this with me right now. I release every agreement I made with disappointment. I release the identity I built in survival. I release the lie that my delay is evidence of my unworthiness. I declare that the surprise God prepared for me before the foundation of the world is moving toward me right now. I will not walk away from the threshold. I will not miss what is mine. My waiting has been working. My face carries the glory of what I have endured and what God has deposited in me through it. I step forward into this new season with expectation, with open hands, and with the full conviction that I am chosen, I am seen, and what God promised me will not be late. It is arriving right on time. If this message confirmed what your spirit already knew, share it with someone who is in the middle of their wait. Leave a comment below and tell God and tell yourself that you are ready. And if you want to go even deeper into understanding the divine blueprint behind your calling and your journey, the link is in the first pinned comment. You were brought here for a reason. Do not leave the same way you came in.